Hopefully this is better, guys.
Hey guys, let us know if it's still a little pixelated.
I think it's
got
good
the
now.
page here refreshed. On that end, it shows to be okay. So we're gonna go ahead and continue moving on. We'll load this up, so we got it pulled up and we can see all everyone's comments and any questions that you guys might have. So we'll kind of start over. But as we said earlier, Happy New Year, everybody! Thanks for coming back. We're here January, what's the date?
4th.
January 4th, 2017.
Everybody had to go back to work.
Right, I noticed that on the way to work today. So today what we got for you guys are kind of how to lower your Camaro. What I have here are a couple of different springs, coilovers, kind of for example, any other little modifications you might need to do or add to lowering your car. So that's what we'll kind of talk about today. I got BMR springs here, I got our Phastek springs over here, and I got a coilover here just for kind of example. And the camber kits and stuff like that, the different brands. You got the Eibach, you got the SPC, and you got the front and rear for the SPC. So that's kind of what those are as far as what you'll need. Now, if lowering the car, there's a couple of different options you guys have as far as what to do. You can do coilovers like I have here, or just general springs. The springs kind of work out to be very popular because it's not a whole lot of modification that you have to do as compared to like a coilover, which a lot of coilovers don't really require a lot of modification, but there is some stuff that still needs to be done depending on what version of a coilover that you go with. So we're kind of talking about springs here a little bit, and to let you all know, springs, they're just a simple, you take your factory spring out, you put the aftermarket one back in, and you pretty much go from there. Some of them, depending on how low you go, you do have to cut the bump stops on the 5th gens. The bump stops do need to be cut. The 6th gens, they don't. On the 6th gen, some of the MRC cars have a bump stop as far as the non-MRC cars. I'm sorry, I take that back. The MRC cars don't have one. The non-MRC cars do have one. So that's kind of the differences there. But it really just kind of depends. Like I said, we have the springs here, simple replacements. Sometimes you'll need a camber kit. On the 5th gens, I know for sure you'll need a camber kit. The 6th gens really not so much. The suspension actually gives you enough travel and enough adjustment to allow the alignment to come into spec. So you should work out pretty well from there. But like I said, these are 6th gen springs. This is what they look like. This is BMRs. These are 1-inch spring. For the 6th gen, there are, let's see, 1, 2, 3 sets that are available. You have Eibach, AFE, and BMR. All of them are about 1-inch springs. They kind of claim that you got the 1.1 or the 0.75, but in that range, you're all about 1 inch. We do have our 1.5-inch springs that should be here pretty soon. I want to say in the next couple weeks, we should have those. I don't know if Jason, you got an update on those?
On our 1.5 springs, I spoke to the manufacturer yesterday. He said they're on the way.
There you go.
So
we'll have those here pretty soon, and we'll be posting up about those in case there's of you guys that want those. And we do have those on the way. We'll go from there. So, like I said, with the 6th gen, the springs on those cars are fairly simple. We have the videos on YouTube as far as installation-wise off our shop car that we did a couple of months back. So the installation goes along pretty straightforward. The rear, you got to take apart the suspension a little bit, the lower control arms, stuff like that, the trailing arms, just to get the spring out. The control arm itself will actually swing down, and that will allow the spring to decompress. And I do suggest using a jack or something to kind of hold that lower control arm in place so that way you can slowly release that pressure. But those are pretty simple. They pop in and out, no problems there. The fronts are a little more difficult. Those require you to take the entire strut assembly off the car, and from there you can replace the spring itself. So, like I said, guys, these are the 1-inch springs for the 6th gen. They got the 1-inch springs. Our 1.5s are on the way, as you just heard. So we'll have those here pretty soon. Those are for the 6th gens. So there's no really camber kits that are needed with the 6th gen, at least not that we've come across. Our car's lowered the 1.5. Guys have then installed the 1-inch. Alignment's been able to get within spec, no problem. We didn't put a camber kit on our car, so we got the alignment just in perfect. Of course, we did ours back in February last year.
Yes.
Yeah, February last year is when we had ours done. So we didn't run into any issues as far as getting the alignment. Yeah, I think the one issue we came into getting the alignment was getting the specs, and that's just because the car was so new, the dealers didn't have the updated information. So,
which they kind of ran it off the ATS chassis, is what
yeah.
they did. And believe it or not, we lowered it 1.5 drop, and it really didn't need much adjustment at all.
No.
That was what's nice. It's not like a 2015 Camaro where if you're going to go 1.5, 1.4 drop, you're going to need a lot of adjustment on the camber.
Right.
Whereas the 2016, 2017, very minimal. But there again, we'll show you the differences in the springs that you're going to put on the car. So
yeah. So like I said, these are the 6th gen springs. We got the 5th gen springs over here. A lot of guys, we've kind of been getting the questions here recently as far as how the installation and everything goes. The 5th gens, they're kind of hard to tell the difference between the front and the rear. But if you look at the springs that come off the car, you can kind of go from there. 6th gens, they're pretty obvious, as you can tell. The rear springs are going to be these tightly coiled ones, and the fronts are going to be the little bit wider ones. But the 5th gens, I know we had a guy that emailed the other day that his rear was absolutely slammed and the front was actually raised on his 5th gen. I don't remember if it was V6 or V8. I'm trying to remember. But what ended up looking at his pictures, we ended up finding out that he actually had the springs in reverse order. So he had the front springs on the rear springs on the front. So something to kind of keep in mind, guys, when you guys are doing this installations, make sure just to kind of see and compare the front and rear springs when you take them off the car. The fronts are usually the larger coil ones. The rears are usually the tighter ones. So just kind of keep that in mind. Like I said, these are the I think these are the 1.4, the 1.5 Phastek springs that we have here. They install pretty easy. You got to take the strut off, and that's kind of show you what a strut assembly is. Kind of right here. You got your two main bolts that hold the strut assembly to the knuckle. You got your bolt here that holds the brake line in place, and then you have your other piece here that holds the sensor, the speed sensor. And then you have the collar for the sway bar. This is a coilover, obviously, so it's going to look a little different as far as factory strut, but kind of gives you an idea of what's needed. And then once you got that whole assembly disassembled, this is what I use right here. Simple, just kind of holds the spring in place. All it does is really kind of compress the spring, so that's why it takes a little bit of pressure off the strut. And then when you take that center bolt out, it's not going flying anywhere.
So let's answer a couple questions here. Hey guys, Happy New Year. Hey Jay. Tom, what are the torque specs on the knuckle bolts on the front and the top nut on the strut? Impact height?
Impact height?
I mean, there's a torque spec out there, don't
yeah.
get me wrong. I don't have it off the top of my head.
Right.
Most of the time what you're going to find is tight. Obviously on the top you can run on with the impact. A lot of people do.
Yeah.
You'll notice that on the top it does have a is it Allen head or it's on the factory strut.
On the Allen head? No.
What is it? Torx or Allen head on top of the strut if you want to do it by hand.
On the nut itself. That one's got I want to say the 6th gen's got Torx and the 5th gen's got inverted Torx.
Yeah.
So there's two different styles on that one, but
so
like on the strut part.
You're talking about on the knuckle bolts, and the top of the nut on the strut.
Okay.
Torque wise, man, we just generally tighten them down, with by hand, with the impact, and then we'll just go back over by hand and check them. Most of the time, what you're gonna find it on the top is when you're setting the nut on. You just run it down with an impact. Obviously, if you don't have an impact, you're gonna have to use the two tools. Yeah. It's gonna stop, man. Yeah, there's no real torque spec. There's a shoulder on that strut, so it's just gonna stop.
Yeah, and as far as the knuckles concerned, as far as torque specs on the bolts, if you're putting it together yourself and you got to drive it down to go get an alignment anyways, and they're gonna loosen those bolts. Yeah. So the alignment shop's really gonna kind of be the one to put that together. Are they gonna torque it back together? Most likely not.
Most likely not.
Most shops are just gonna impact it and be done with it. As long as it's tight, it's tight. So,
Christian, what's up, my boys? My orders are in the mail. I'm expecting to receive one of them today. Rock on, buddy. That's great. Jay, Happy New Year, Jay. Good to see you again. Yeah. Eddie asked me I'm waiting for mine. Most likely probably waiting on the 1.5 springs.
What's he waiting on? I mean, if you're waiting on the 1.5 springs,
maybe in about a week or two we should have those in our hands. So he kind of ran through stuff real quick for you. 6th gen versus 5th gen. Obviously, there is a difference in them. Yeah. Whenever you are putting springs on your 5th gen Camaro, we've had this happen like he mentioned just a minute ago.
Yeah.
People putting the wrong springs on the wrong side of the car.
It happens.
It happens. Back in the day, you were so used to whenever you got springs, and it was going to be the fat spring in the rear of the car and the thin spring in the front.
Right.
Had a guy email us the other day, said, "Hey man, my car's sitting like this," and we're like, automatically we knew, okay, you put the springs on the wrong side. You know why? Because I did it before. Not paying attention. I did this. If you started with the rear. If you started with the rear first, you most likely said, you know what? And this is obviously back in 2009 when this happened. But you're like, okay, well the fat spring's going to go on the rear. But that's not the case. The case is, this is the spring for the rear of the Camaro. This is the spring for the front of the Camaro. And that's 2010 to 2015, and that's also going to be the same as a ZL1 as well. So that's just something to kind of inform you, let you know. Obviously, we do have different style camber bolts. We offer the ones from Eibach. We also offer the ones from SPD. If you are doing the ones for the rear, it's the rear that needs two sets,
the rear,
right?
Yes, the rear for the fifth gen. The rear for the fifth gen will actually require two of these kits. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Just because they're, as you can kind of see, the collars are the same, but the bolts are a different size.
Yeah.
So you'll actually need two of these kits, one for each side of the car. So you got the fifth gens and it's only for the rear. Fronts, just take one kit for the front.
One per side.
Two for the rear. Like we said, because the thing is, they adjust. The kits itself is a camber and a toe adjustment. So you have both new bolts. So that's the alignment shop to get them perfect when it's back. Or if you're racing on a certain spec, they can dial it in right then and there. So two kits for the rear, one kit for the front, and you're set completely as far as alignment bolts and everything, camber bolts that you'll need on a fifth gen.
Now that's obviously, this is when you're going low. I'd say you don't need it if you're doing up down to a 1.25.
Oh, I would say a 1.25. The BMR 1.25, nobody's really needing it.
You're not needing it. If you go to 1.4,
1.4 or the lower with 1.8 from H&R, then you will need them.
You're going to need them.
Oh yeah, definitely. Just because that's going to be so low of a drop that. If you don't put in alignment, I mean, your tires are just going to be cambered in completely.
And you're not going to be able to get away with the factory bolts.
No.
It's not going to happen. So anything below a 1.25 drop, just consider the fact that if you're going to get springs and you want that look, you're going to need this to complete it. So you don't want to get to the alignment shop, have the car all put together and go, hey man, we can't camber you in because we can't get enough camber. You are going to need these bolts.
Right.
So just so you know that. Anything I said, like I said, 1.4, 1.45 drop. The H&R Springs, especially those guys, they're low.
Those are going to be really low.
You're gonna need the setup.
Yeah, because I want to say the H&R Springs, I believe their springs start off at 1.5. So anything, then they go to 1.8. So they give you a really low drop. By the time those settle and everything, I've had guys tell me that their car dropped about 2 inches, which really closes that fender gap. So if you really want that slammed look, an H&R Spring is really kind of where you want to kind of go. The ride's going to be a little rough, but the lower you go, the rougher the ride's going to be.
Because you're not going to have as much shock travel. Right. So you really don't inquire that on the 6th gen Camaros. Believe it or not, we have a 1.5 drop on our Camaro. The ride's nice. It's not, I mean, it's great. It's not factory, but it's not killing you. It's not beating you. It's not bouncing the car around. Because, I'll kind of show you on this tool over here, is, it's the shock travel. Drop everything. It's the shock travel. So basically, it's the point from here to here that you have. Obviously, as you're lowering it, you're bringing this together, and you don't have as much shock travel. So on the 5th gen Camaro, obviously, if you're the lower you go, the less shock travel you have. The ride will suffer, but it's one of those things where if you rather get the look than the ride, then you're good to go. On the 6th gen Camaro, not a problem at all. I mean, obviously, I don't think you're going to go lower than a 1.5 drop unless you're bagging the car. That's just how it's going to go.
It's either that or set coilovers.
Yeah. But even at 1.5, if you depend on where your tire sets, you're in the fender well already. So you're kind of set where you're going to have to be. Yeah. These guys are, he was kind of talking about a little bit. These are spring compressors, okay? You don't need them on the 5th gen Camaros. The 5th gen Camaro, if you watch our YouTube video, you'll notice that you can zip off the factory spring. It's not going to fly off and kill anybody. Yeah. Whereas with the 6th gen,
this one was under a lot more tension than the 5th gen was. If you go to the YouTube page and you find those videos, the 5th gen, you'll see me kind of holding it, it's not really a whole lot of pressure. There is a little bit of pressure, but it's not a whole lot to where it's going to come flying off. The 6th gen one, that one is under a lot of pressure. So that one, if you did get that bolt out and you didn't have a spring compressor or something holding those springs in place, those are going to go flying.
Yeah, and tool like this right here, it comes in a set. Harbor Freight, if you have a local Harbor Freight, they're going to probably run you around $25.
Yeah, really not that expensive.
It's not that expensive. They're not that expensive. No. Sears has them. You know, so those are, you know,
it's a handy tool.
We got these from Harbor Freight. Yeah. They're like $25. You know,
so that's all we needed. You know, we were fine. You can go. You go to like a lot of the alignment shops. They have this big kind of contraption. They actually stick the strut in there, and then they adjust the points, and then they screw it down from there, and it compresses the spring. So I mean, you can buy one of those, but those are usually wall mounted. And that's if you're doing it every day as compared to something like this. So I'm going to do it once in a while. Keep it in the toolbox, no problem. The other bigger ones, they're mounted. So something to think about. Like you said, $20, do it yourself. Save yourself a couple $100 on installation. Go watch those videos on YouTube. I mean, they're pretty explanatory to where we kind of tell you different sizes. The bolts and sizes of the nuts and additions did change with the different models, so there might be some slight differences, but for the most part, they're right on target. You know, for all of them. So
Jay, you asked about clocking the suspension. Yes, okay. On the 5th gens, yes, you're definitely clocking the suspension. And basically what that means is when you're hanging springs on the car, obviously the suspension's hanging. So when you tighten it down, the bolts, it locks everything in place. So generally, you can either lower the car in your driveway if you're doing it in your driveway and just clock the bushings from underneath, or you can wait till you get to the alignment rack, loosen it up, retighten them, because they're going to, when you do alignment, sometimes they're loosening something. Anyway. But obviously at where the shock is, you know, you can loosen that up and let it free up and then tighten it back up, and you're good to go, man. And that's generally what you're going to end up doing. Yeah,
usually you just kind of loosen that suspension a little bit, and usually what I'll do if I'm under the car doing the alignment like I've done in the past, loosen them up a little bit and just kind of push the car up and down, kind of jounce a little bit, and kind of get it to settle. And once it kind of resettles, you know, adjust the alignment, get it in spec, tighten the bolts down. Usually pretty good to go from there.
Christian, we were talking about the ride quality a bit earlier on the 1 inch drop on the 6th gens. Be incomparable how stiff and bumpy the 5th gen. No, the ride's different. The ride on the 1 inch drop, on the 5th gen to me is not bad. No. For instance, I guess one of my favorite springs is probably the Hotchkis springs when it comes to Hotchkis and BMR on the 1 inch drop. We have a Phastek spring as well. It's just as good as those as well. But I would say that the drop quality on the 6th gen is nowhere rough as it is on the 5th gen. It's a completely different animal all the way around. Car, suspension, the comfort of the shocks, it's completely different.
Everything about I hate comparing the 5th gen to the 6th gen because they're two different animals.
You can't even compare them.
You can't. I mean, even if you take the Z01 5th gen and try and compare it to a 6th gen, even the SS, it's very hard to do that because they're. I'm going to say a 6th gen is probably going to ride just as nice as a 5th gen Z01. You know, maybe a little bit nicer. The 6th gen Z01 we had in the shop about a month ago. That one was even nicer than our shop car. You know, so I mean, after we lowered that one, I mean, we really, I mean, drove down the highway in Texas roads here in our area. The roads aren't really that great, so we kind of get a lot of the bumps and everything goes from there. And I wouldn't complain. You know, wouldn't complain.
On the 6th gen, I mean, you can clock them. We clocked them when we took the car to get aligned, basically, on that. I have a 4-cylinder Camaro. Any way to change the blow valve to an aftermarket one? So obviously, Turbo Smart has been talking about that for probably about a year now. So before the car even came out, we had a meeting with Turbo Smart because obviously they did one for the EcoBoost Mustang, and they're looking at doing something as well for the Camaro, the 4-cylinder as well. So I think that's going to be a hot item, the blow-off valve change. I think that's definitely going to be something a lot of people are going to want to do. So we're just kind of waiting on Turbo Smart. The 4-cylinders got released way later than I think they were supposed to, and now it's like, okay, let's see what we can do to them. So.
A lot of manufacturers are still trying to get their hands on the cars and make sure they got the testing and everything done for everybody. So we should have more information on that hopefully later on this year.
Thanks, Carlos. Hey, man, it's we are definitely working on a day-to-day basis on looking organized and kind of get the video thing down a little bit better. You know, hopefully, you know, as you see us progress through 2017, you'll see a lot more changes, and that's what we're hoping for.
Definitely.
But definitely thank you for that. So guys, like I don't know if you read before, we are shortening up the show to 12:30. I think we're running it too long, trying to go to 1 o'clock from 12 to 1 o'clock. It's just a little too long. Some of you guys are on lunch breaks and so on and so forth, but we are trying to knock it down a little bit. So today we wanted to take a segment. We wanted to cover springs. We wanted to kind of go over just the differences. Obviously, I'll reiterate. You have different. This fifth gen, we'll start with that. You have 1 inch, 1.25, 1.4. 1.4, 1.5 drop is the Phastek springs, and then it's the H&R 1.8,
1.7. We won't say that front and rears differ. So 1.8, 1.7 for the H&R.
So and then obviously we're not discussing coilovers today or airbags, which we've done a lot with those as well. The 1.8 drop I'll just mention on the HR looks great. Ride is rough, guys. Rough. Just so you know, So if you really want that stance, you want that look, 1.8, we sell more 1.4, 1.5 drop springs than we do anything.
Right about there. Even the 1.25 for like the ZL1 or the 1LE guys, those guys want the 1.25. The guys with the SS cars, the standard SS cars and the V6 cars, they want that little bit lower drop. So it really also kind of, the factory suspension also kind of plays a little bit of a factor into it. So, kind of keep that in mind. Then on the magnetic ride, which it's not going to drop just as low with the magnetic ride, it's going to be right there at that same point. So kind of keep that in mind. But those really kind of work out to be a great spring. The 1.25, 1.4, BMR, 1 inch. I mean, there's a bunch of different brands. Everything we can kind of go on to.
So Carlos thinks Ricardo needs to rock the Christmas elf ears in the next video. I think he does too.
You like that one too? We need to bring Santa back. Is what we gotta do.
I took Santa home.
I got the ears somewhere. I think I put them away. But
I dressed up for Christmas as Santa. Ha ha ha. Ho ho ho. Who won the December drawing? I don't know who won. We did do a $500 giveaway.
Yes, and we touched on the giveaway. Well, we did contact the winner. So he has been contacted. He did contact us back. He's already set up and everything. So we're just waiting on getting a good picture from him, so that way we can throw it out there and let everyone announce him basically as the winner. Yeah. But he was chosen. He did already have his account. I haven't looked today to see if he's used it at all because I know I set it up yesterday. But
that'll get posted on Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah. So y'all see who the winner was.
Yeah. So in case you guys are wondering and you haven't been contacted,
you didn't win.
I'm sorry. Sorry, but stay tuned. Sign up for the newsletter still, because we'll do another one.
Yeah, we're gonna do another one. So we enjoy doing that. I mean, doing those giveaways. I mean, they're great for you guys. The last one we did was 1,000. This last one we did now was 500. So we'll definitely probably have either spring, fall. I mean, spring, summer, fall. So it's just, I'm sorry, Angela, it was not you.
Sorry.
It was Jack. No, it wasn't Jack either. He's not holding out on you.
No.
But
we do have some stuff here for you.
I do want to show you our new hats.
Oh, there you go.
Right here.
There you go.
These are new hats, guys. We just got them in right before the end of the year.
Yeah.
Which
two different sizes: large, small, medium, and then large, extra large. So those should be up on the site hopefully pretty soon.
Yeah.
So we'll be having those for you guys, and maybe throughout the year we'll probably give a couple away. But we'll see how that goes and go from there.
So we're at the end of the show, basically. Let's go ahead and wrap it up. I want to thank everybody that joined us today. If you have any questions about springs, let us know. Carlos, we've been uploading. We haven't been uploading as many videos to YouTube, but we're definitely working on it. 2017, you'll see a lot more out of us on videos. We're getting through the end of the year.
Yeah.
Last year, but we got a lot of stuff we got to start posting up.
Oh yeah.
Let's do. I got a perfect one. Let's do Know the Show.
There you go.
Know the Show. What do you want to give away today?
Well, we still have some of those shirts from SEMA.
We have 150 shirt left.
Yeah.
I
think we have one.
Yeah, we have one.
And then how about since they're new and they're not even on the website yet, you get a hat.
Well, some ears.
There you go. We found it.
You got 2 shirts left here.
There you go. So we'll do a hat, Phastek hat, and a 50 t-shirt for Know the Show.
Yeah. That's what we're going to do. So let's do Know the Show. So we are going to know the show. How many what Camaro needs to use this tool here? The 5th gen 2010 to 2015 or the 2016-2017 Camaro?
Which one needs it? Good question. It's a good question.
What tool would you use? What car would you use this on? 2016, 2017, or the 2010, 2015?
And again, guys, 5th gen is over here, Springs.
So if I'm looking, if I'm correct, I'm going to go say that it looks like Carlos got it first from what I'm seeing right here. Let's make sure, but Carlos looks like he's the one that won it.
There you go, Carlos.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say Carlos won it this time.
There we go.
And I want to thank everybody for joining us today.
Yep.
And again, if you got any questions, let us know.
Definitely.
You can reach us at, if you're looking for sales stuff, sales@phastekperformance.com. If you're looking for tech, support at phastekperformance.com. Or if you just want to give us a call, 1-855-FASTTECH. See you guys.